Hello, good afternoon. So I'm installing a Maxxair fan on the roof of the van, which I'm doing nearer the back. I've drawn the outline, and I'll show you the tools I'm using, and then I'll step you through. Right, so there is where I'm going to be cutting the hole. It's at the back of the Sprinter rather than at the front, because there's more space at the front, so I can put the solar panel. So I think what I used is I actually used this the frame of the fan, of the Maxxair fan, as a way to draw the outline with a pen before using gaffer tape to mask it up. You have to be careful to use a ruler to make sure that the distance between the lines, between this ridge and this line, is the same on both sides, so that, you know, it's nicely in the middle and accurate and everything. Another thing to watch out for is the adapter, because obviously there are ridges, you can't just plonk this on, or if you do, it'll be really rough. And the adapter is actually one of the hardest things, or the hardest thing to put together. So I'll talk to you about that now. So this is the adapter here that I made. You can actually buy these online. But I noticed they changed the dimensions of the actual the outer lip, you know, this thing on the since I don't know, the dimensions are different for my fan than they are for the ones they're selling online actually in America, so I ended up having to make it myself out of polyethylene. You can see here there's a polyethylene board, black, like that I cut out. But you know, I tried to do it in one single piece, you know, as if I'd bought it, and then kind of shave down these bits to kind of fit over the ridges here. But I don't think you need to do one piece. I think it's just too much work. I think you should just, like, if you're going to do this, you need to just, you know, cut out some strips and then just, you know, use whatever you need to craft the piece to fit the top of the van and give you a nice kind of flat surface to work with. I'll show you what it looks like. So there's the outline, here's the adapter. I've even drilled some holes in it with a 4mm drill, and just sits on top of the ridges here like that, and that's it. I'm just going to use like a lot of glue to kind of keep it in place, and there's like kind of an inner indentation here that I can't have on the, can't, like, you know, I have to give some space for the actual for the frame of the fan. So yeah, that's how it fits. It's not perfect, but it's gonna have to do. As you can see, those are the holes. It's getting dangerous up here, so I'm not gonna stay much longer. I'm gonna get down. As you can see, I drilled the holes. I tried to film it at the top of on the roof, but it was so awkward, and my ladder almost fell down, so you couldn't even see it because my back was in the way when I was doing it. But anyway, those are the holes I drilled through. I used the largest drill bit, which I think is 8mm, and I've got, and the wind is so bad. Anyway, I got this thing to catch, this piece of plastic to catch the bits that fall down, especially when I'm cutting the thing open. So yeah. All right, this bit I got my dad to do it, which was the cutting of the roof, taking the square section out of the roof for with the jigsaw. What we tried to do was actually cut a little bit further away from the original line, just to give enough space, because the thickness of the plastic of the fan housing is about, I don't know, 1.5 millimeters or something, I guess. So you got to make sure that it's that it'll fit, and that, you know, you're not going to be stuck using the metal file to file it down by hand, which takes ages actually. So I think we did have to cut like an extra section off, like a trim, and an extra kind of make an extra trim on one of the edges to kind of make it fit, and more trimmings around the corners as well, because the corners were stopping the fan from fitting. So that's the thing, you know, it's actually try and get it as correct as possible and big enough as possible, and big enough to actually fit the frame housing in the first place, so that you're not stuck fiddling with the jigsaw or with the metal file at the end. Alright, the idea now is to put the mastic sealant strip around here, and then here I stuck on the mastic tape to attach the adapter to the bottom of the housing of the fan. And for this bit I actually put the mastic tape was too wide, so in fact what I had to do is I end up to actually fit the adapter on afterwards. I had to trim off bits of the mastic tape, you know, because it was going over the edge there, that kind of just a bit of the housing it was going over, and so yeah, bits had to be cut off to make it fit, and then, you know, so what you should do is make sure that it actually fits. If you have the same kind of fan as I have, or this exact same model and version and whatnot, try and, you know, stick on the right measurement of mastic tape, and it has to be around, I'd say 40 millimeters wide. Make it as thick as possible. It's fine if it's thick, but if it's too wide, then it's a problem. So 40 millimeter wide mastic tape is recommended. Otherwise, you'll end up with maybe too little, or if not, then too much, like I did. I think my mastic tape was 45 millimeters wide. So yeah, so ended up sticking it on, and it stuck on nice and fast. And also make sure you get it on the right way around, you know, so the actual adapter fits, so that, you know, so the actual fan is and the adapter is, you know, in coordination, so that it actually fits on the roof and it's facing the right way, you know. Don't put the adapter on the wrong way, basically. That's what I'm saying. And so yeah, I was kind of just doing it you know, as I went along. I was kind of doing this, and obviously remember to use clamps to force it together and make it stick fast. Either way, you don't have to do this. It's better if you do. You know, it's going to be squashed together anyway when you put the bolts on, like I did. But yeah, and these are the aluminium strips, which I copied it from another YouTuber who did it. I just painted mine black on the outside there, and I used the housing there to drill the holes in as well, to know where I was drilling the holes. So I just cut them to size by getting these 1 meter long aluminium strips and cutting them. Yeah, they're about 45 millimeters wide and 1 meter long each, and there was 2 of them. And to actually attach it to the van, instead of using a lot of people just use a kind of glue, I've noticed, and they don't use too much. I in fact went a bit further. I use this adhesive that I used to attach the windows, this bonding agent I used to attach windows, and ended up using it for the fan because you know, there's lots of it, and I know that it's very, very strong. So it was it was called Winbond, and it was just the adhesive agent, and that's linked in the description if you want to have a look at that. I recommend doing that, although it does get absolutely everywhere. It really does. That and the sealant get completely all over the place. And then obviously at the end, after I attached it, I put the aluminium strips on there, and bolted them down. Really, that's all I did. I haven't done it here yet, but when I put the sealant on later, after putting the bolts in and having someone on the other side, you have to have someone on the other side to attach the nut whilst you hold the bolt in place, you know, with the screwdriver or whatnot, and that'll hold it in place. And you can also put sealant over the seams of the aluminium strips to make it more waterproof. So yeah, I decided not to go with the the screws, just the standard self-tapping screws that they have in the that came with the actual fan, because firstly it just, you know, it didn't feel very strong to me. I always thought you needed bolts on the other side, or nuts on the other side to keep it in place. Another thing I noticed that was really hard was to put the self-tapping screws to attach the actual fan to the fan housing. It's actually a lot. I think it's a common problem. The holes with the holes between the fan housing and the fan don't actually line up properly. So you have to force it in. You have to kind of. I mean, we tried like pressing the fan down to try and get the holes to line up. But in fact, what you have to do is you do have to kind of maybe push it a little bit push it down a little bit, enough so that you can actually see the hole on the other side, and then just kind of force in the screw and keep the screw as horizontal as possible, so that actually, whilst you're self-tapping the screw in, whilst you're putting the screw into the fan, it kind of, you know, the holes between the fan and the fan housing line up eventually. But yeah, it's difficult on that. And the final stage was putting on the sealant, and I've noticed a lot. This bit can get really sloppy looking. I didn't, you know, it ended up looking a little bit sloppy for me, but not as bad as the others that I've seen. What I did is obviously I put the sealant on, and it was obviously a matching colour to my van, which I think is a good idea. But I also used these kind of spatulas there, the one with the yellow handle, and I think that's a really good idea to kind of, you know, put the sealant, you know, just to have a tidy amount of sealant, but this, you know, that connects the fan and the housing fan to the actual van itself, and makes a kind of a bonded seal, if you like. And yeah, I recommend doing that, and then also kind of putting the sealant in between any kind of nooks and crannies on the aluminium strips and over the bolts and all that stuff. And that was it, and that was the fan installed. And I actually did have, I think I had a slight leak on the first night. Water could have got in, and I didn't put enough sealant over the bolts, so I tried that, and hopefully that'll keep it sealed. I don't know, I'll have to report back. There's the finished product. And you can see here on the inside what it looks like with the nuts and bolts there. And that's it. These are the bolts, if you can just about see that. I use the security bolts, and yeah, it's not attached yet, so I have to close it and open it this way. But that's it. So yeah, please like, subscribe, and comment, and yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.